For those of you who aren't aware of it, one of the jokes about China and their extreme communist reality that they try to create is that their biggest problem is good old-fashioned capitalist corruption and money laundering. Beijing goes hunting for overseas real estate bought with dirty money. And this was 2013. And of course, it's pointing out someplace in Canada. Now, I want to point out something here. Courts, thank you very much for putting up a headline that leaves thousands of questions so people will keep reading. What this means is that the Chinese government does not want its citizens, and especially its higher-ranking criminals, I mean politicians, to buy real estate in any other countries. I'm going to repeat that. They're trying not to have anybody in their country or in their government buy foreign property. Why? You're going to love this. Because it creates a conflict of interest. If you own property in the United States and you make money off of it, you're less likely to do any saber rattling or be in favor of threatening the U.S. government if necessary. I know that sounds like a stupidly obvious answer, but yeah. It's like if everybody in the United States and the U.S. Air Force had at least one relative in Russia, we wouldn't bomb Russia if we needed to in the Cold War. That's literally the end of the video if you want to know it. I mean, that's really the underlying reason. But let's go on. This is from 2013. Let's go down here. China's corrupt officials, which is all of them, crooked businessmen, which is all of them, I'm sorry I have a negative opinion of China, have smuggled billions of dollars overseas as of 2013, ended up being laundered through real estate dealings, through shadow companies and investment in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the United Kingdom, and London, New York, Los Angeles, and Sydney, and Toronto, Canada. Why? Because you look for an area you can get away with blind buying a property, then sell the thing later on after investment goes up a little bit, and then you get the money back out. When you launder money, you lose some of it. But if you invest in property and it goes up in value, you then dump it. Now, this pumping of properties, real estate pumping, causes an unstable real estate market in the other country that it's being done to. So it's in Canada's best interest not to let this happen because it artificially inflates and then drops the prices. And it happens every time something weird happens in China, people buy and sell like a bunch of drunken real estate brokers that they are. And that screws with the economy in other countries. And because this is very easily seen, and this is where you're getting the meme from, this is seen as a sort of economic attack or hacking by the foreign government. It's in China's best interest that this does not happen. I'm going to repeat this one more time. It's against the law in China for them to do this because, and this is a straightforward thing, the Chinese government isn't interested in having any of its members own property in foreign countries because the only reason they ever do it is to launder money, and it ends up pissing off the other country, and it causes them trouble. And also, again, it's a conflict of interest. Next page. 2016, China's politics are screwing with Canadian real estate markets. How? Every time that guy there looks powerful or less powerful, because they're even more conspiracy theory driven than we are in the United States, it causes a problem. Last year, about US $1 trillion, that would be 2012, I guess, was spirited out of China by Communist Party leaders and their hangers-on in defiance of currency regulations. They have laws preventing it in China. They're not supposed to invest money in foreign countries because we have the ability in the United States or Canada, you can buy property. And if you buy the property, well, it has nothing to do with the Chinese economy. And you're draining monetary power from China when you buy foreign property. This is not in China's best interest. And, that would have been last year they're referring to, last Tuesdayism, would have been 2015 sometime. There was a bunch of rules passed to prevent this. The Chinese government is cooperating with the Canadian government to keep this from happening. And they've said so overtly and publicly because they're fed up with business people in China doing this. Because if you're in China, you're in a communist country. You're not allowed to be rich. That's the whole point of communism. According to every conservative out there, rich people are tormented and persecuted by communist governments. Well, yeah, they are. In China, so you're allowed to be rich, but not too rich. They regulate the crap out of you. And to get out of that, these wannabe capitalists yearning to be free invest money in other countries and or literally launder money for gangs. And it's a big problem in China because they have an ass ton of people there and a lot of corruption because they use a Chinese central government style thing. And the incredible level of corruption is just part of being in a communist government. Their hardcore, over-regulated society also includes a hardcore, unregulatable bureaucracy that they created. I swear they can't get it right either. So anyway, next. That was 2016, talking about 2015. Next. Current year. This is on a website someone was quoting. The Chinese government just seized billions worth of Canadian real estate. The part that's left out in this is, and so did the Chinese government, so did the Canadian government. The Chinese and Canadian government technically are controlling this because most of the money that was spent was illegally acquired. So all of these investments are considered illegal by Chinese standards, and in Canadian standards, the Canadian government is also cooperating with because they don't want them to seize it either. And then, of course, we go to the spin doctoring here. Well, it's temporarily seized. Right. Anyway, I'm not even going to quote this, but it was from Better Dwelling. Their headline is to get you to go to this page and look at the advertisements. And yes, I ran this through the archiver so they won't get a nickel out of it. And this was posted February of the current year. What happened afterwards? Well, let's not do a follow-up. Better Dwelling is the one that really fanned the flames of this meme. Anyway, February 26th, a little while later, it was reposted by Huffington Post. Huffington Post is notoriously not useful for data sometimes. China may decide to liquidate some assets it seized from insurance giant Anbang. Yeah, but they would liquidate it and the property would go back to Canada. Again, they're not allowed to own the properties either in most cases. I mean, there is some investment by the Chinese government, but that's done above board. They cooperate with each of the governments and each country that they're dealing with. The problem they're having is their own internal supposed party loyalists aren't being party loyal because they're trying to make a killing in the real estate market. And that's a big no-no in a communist country. Let's stop spin doctoring. Anyway, let's see if there's any quote I highlighted. No. Now, you're allowed to read all of these. These are opinion pieces as well as some facts. But that was, the current year, but several months ago. Let's fast forward. March. A month later. China's restrictions on foreign real estate purchases, which are the whole point of the Chinese government trying to keep this from happening, slowed Chinese investment in Canadian offices, hotels, and other large properties late last year. Not the current year, but 2017. Then they did a seizure. This is months and months ago. Since the Chinese government unveiled new rules in August of 2017 to keep capital in the country, because when capital leaves China, they can't get anything done, and effectively their own people are committing financial attacks on their country by running money out of the country. They want that to stop. Chinese appetite for big property acquisitions has waned noticeably, except from one group. How Chinese gangs are laundering drug money through Vancouver real estate. The current year, April. I don't even have to explain it. They buy properties, sell them to a supposed person they're not supposed to know, and that way the money comes back out and they're able to launder it. It's money laundering, it's investment speculation, and all of it is illegal by Chinese standards. They want nothing to do with it because they end up losing capital that they need desperately to be able to run their goddamn country. That's what's happening. May 10th. Anbang's holdings, including something Center 20, now under Chinese government control. Yes, that's correct. And let's see. Oh, look, it's not investment bog watch. Okay, well, it's pretty bad anyway. Their whole point is they don't want the investments to be there. They want the capital back. So they're going to get rid of the properties and give it back to whoever wants it, probably a bunch of Canadians. And they're cooperating with the Canadian government. This has also happened in the United States, in Britain, etc. Just type in Chinese money laundering and name that country. They do a lot of this in some countries. The reason is they'll literally funnel money out of the country by mailing it to people, trying to get the money out of the country because they're paranoid about their finances, because very rich people do this. I'm thinking of a room full of shoes and some crazy lady right now. Anyway, no, the Chinese government is not trying to commit financial war on Canada, the United States, anywhere. And this is the same meme that happened a few years ago, about the United States selling off assets to the Chinese government. No, they have to make a deal with the U.S. government to do investments, because if they do a bunch of investments as an entire country, they have to explain and prove that they won't do it to manipulate the economy in the country and try to cause a crash. The Chinese government has enough money and enough wherewithal that they could deliberately screw with the real estate market in the United States and actually cause a freaking run on the bank or cause another depression. This is financial warfare. Because each government knows that, they regulate it. And in the case of the Chinese government, they want to make sure that doesn't happen anyway, because they keep having their own criminal masterminds in their own country do it. This would be like Donald Trump, when he wasn't president, deliberately trying to financially screw over, let's say, Taiwan for some reason, because he had enough money at one time to do that. He could have. That would be illegal by their standards and also by ours. That would be a problem unless we were behind it. And now that he's president, I don't know if you know this, when you become president, you have even more restrictions on you. He's not supposed to do anything that might destabilize anything, because it would be seen as the U.S. government doing it, not his kids. That's why he was supposed to divest. But I digest. Anyway, Beijing goes hunting for overseas real estate bought with dirty money to give it back to the country. 2013. This has happened repeatedly. This is something that people play up literally every couple of years, depending on what country you're in. It happens all the time because they have a big criminal element. They have a massive mob in China. And oddly enough, they actually run the government sometimes. And they have to go through on a regular basis and purge their own officials. I mean, you can look up how many discredited and humiliated public officials they have. Even Japan has this problem once in a while. Any government that uses a heavy bureaucracy and a lot of central planning will have this happen. This is the way it is. And China, hook, line, and sinker, decided a long time ago that they were going to use the real, honest-to-goodness, real communist mathematics of it all. Which means this will just keep happening until they stop being a communist country. They're the best example of how it doesn't work. That's why I cite China as a good example of why you don't do communism. Anyway, again, I'm going to repeat this. The Chinese government does not want to own property in Canada through this convoluted method. They would rather do it by getting the Canadian government's permission and have an agreement and invest, because they want money back out of it at the end. This method doesn't do that. This is a bunch of rogues doing it. And the thing is, the rogues run the country. Now they're going to have to purge some more people. And you can tell that, nobody here seems to look like they feel too guilty about anything. Anyway, naked capitalism running rampant in China is illegal. That's the takeaway. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.